Welcome back to Football Daily, where today we count down 10 of the most annoying transfer sagas ever. 10. Steve Gerrard to Chelsea. When Steve Gerrard retired in 2016, English football fans lauded one of the era's great one-club men, with many considering his stint in LA as more of a holiday. But it was almost a very different story. In the mid-2000s, just as the Liverpool captain was forging his place in Europe's top bracket of midfielders, who else but Chelsea came sniffing? With Abramovich's fortune giving the Blues unrivaled riches at the time, Gerrard was tempted away in 2004, but stayed in Merseyside after the appointment of Rafa Benitez as Reds coach. But following the club's unlikely Champions League win the following summer, Abramovich became more persistent in his pursuit of the Liverpool skipper, and prepared a British record £32 million bid, which the club rejected. But it wasn't long until alarm bells were raised, as Gerrard rejected a £100,000 a week attempt from Liverpool to keep him tied to Anfield, and a statement from both the player and club confirmed he was on his way out. Just as Red Merseysiders accepted their loss though, Gerrard made a shock U-turn and later said that one league win with Liverpool would mean much more to him than multiple titles at another club. Unfortunately, he got neither. 9. Cesc Fàbregas to Man United. In the summer of 2013, it was all change at Manchester United, as Sir Alex Ferguson retired from his long-time post as manager, with Chief Executive David Gill following him. This left the incoming David Moyes, who had never spent more than £15 million on a single player, and Ed Woodward, who had zero experience in the transfer market, to replace Paul Scholes and rejuvenate a weak and ageing midfield in the close season. After losing out on Thiago Alcantara, Woodward stepped up efforts to secure the signing of Cesc Fàbregas from Barcelona, and the media buzzed about the possibility of the Spaniard making a switch to Old Trafford, with talk of him being dissatisfied with his contract at the Camp Nou. But there was one small issue. At no point did Cesc actually reveal a desire to leave Catalonia. Nevertheless, United put all their eggs into one basket, and by the time they finally got the message, there was just a week before the new season started, and all they had to show for their efforts was Uruguayan teenager Guillermo Varela. Moyes and Woodward's dilly-dallying continued until the end of the transfer window, when they finally shelled out £28 million on Mauro and Fellaini, a player in no way similar to Cesc Fàbregas or Paul Scholes. 8. Gareth Bale to Real Madrid. Okay, so this transfer actually happened, but it was nevertheless tiresome to watch unfold. In 2012-13, Gareth Bale took his game to a new level, dragging an otherwise uninspired Tottenham side through the season with 26 goals and a number of world-beating performances. So when Real Madrid put in an £86.3 million bid for the Welshman that July, Daniel Levy smelt an even bigger profit, allegedly holding out for over £100 million. Unsurprisingly, this annoyed Galacticos president Florentino Perez, as well as Bale, who was eager to get to Spain for the new season. But whereas most players who feel they're being held hostage moan to their agents or go on strike, Bale took things a step further by threatening the club with legal action. Needless to say, by the end of the window, Spurs had brought in a ton of new signings amounting to over £100 million, and Bale was allowed to join Madrid. 7. Paul Ince to Man United. Another transfer which ended up going through, and another saga that left all parties red in the face, Paul Ince's move to Man United in 1989 was an absolute farce. Following West Ham's relegation from the top flight, fans expected a summer of departures, and it came as no surprise that East London's brightest star Paul Ince was on his way out. Man United swooped, and the midfielder, who wanted to get everything sorted before going on holiday, signed personal terms with the club and had his photo taken in the red shirt, with the deal set to be announced weeks later. What came next was a comedy of errors. The photo was leaked to the public, leaving both clubs dumbfounded, and Ince failed his medical, meaning he had to walk back to Upton Park with his tail between his legs. Pissed off Hammers fans littered him with abuse all summer, and he even had to turn out for the side in the second division before the move was finally completed that September. 6. Luis Suarez and Gonzalo Higuain to Arsenal. Back to 2013 now, clearly the golden era of god-awful transfer dealings, when Arsenal were in the middle of their usual summer of panic. Having struggled for goals the previous season after the departure of Robin van Persie, the Gunners were in dire need of a centre-forward, with Luis Suarez and Gonzalo Higuain their desired targets. The club's pursuit of Suarez was an absolute mess, concluding in an incredibly cheeky £40 million and £1 offer for the Uruguayan in an attempt to trigger his release clause. Surprise, surprise, it didn't work, and Liverpool walked away from negotiations understandably annoyed at the whole ordeal. In that time, Napoli swooped for Higuain, leaving the Gunners with nowhere else to look. They did make a deadline day statement though by signing Mesut Ozil, but a lack of firepower up top meant they scored just 68 goals in 2013-14, while Luis Suarez's 31, almost half of Arsenal's total, took Liverpool to the brink of the title. Higuain hasn't been half bad either, and the club have been searching for a world-class goalscorer ever since. Could Lacazette finally be the answer? Only time will tell. 5. Ronaldo's return. Now for what is perhaps the most boring transfer saga of them all. After Cristiano Ronaldo's move from Manchester United to Madrid in 2009, the Portuguese maestro made no secret of his lingering love for Old Trafford. This has obviously led to media outlets and overexcitable Red Devils fans to dream of a heroic return for Ronaldo, but in reality, it's never going to happen. The idea that a man as competitive as the Real talisman would leave the Bernabeu without maxing out his goal-scoring records is pure madness, but every summer, rumours arise of an unlikely Manchester move. And in 2017, it seemed like it could actually happen. After being stung by the authorities for tax fraud, CR7 was allegedly set on leaving Spain, and Mourinho was seemingly ready to lodge a gargantuan bid for his former charge. Alas, Florentino Perez somehow cleared up the mess, and to be honest, it's highly unlikely a departure was ever really on the cards. 4. David De Gea to Real Madrid. But here is one transfer that came tantalisingly close to going through. It seems difficult to remember a time when Los Blancos weren't floating around Man United keeper David De Gea, and whether the saga will ever end is anyone's guess. Almost from the moment the Spaniard touched down in Manchester in 2011, reports of Real interest have been constant, and when De Gea claimed he was unhappy at Old Trafford in 2012, the rumour mill began spinning. Every summer since, talk surrounding the stopper's future has gone into overdrive, and the saga finally came to a head in 2015. Or so we thought. On deadline day, a deal looked to be in place that would see De Gea go to the Bernabeu for £29 million plus Keylor Navas. But a fiasco followed whereby Madrid submitted their paperwork to La Liga authorities too late, supposedly because United had messed up at their end. Cue a blame game between the two clubs, tears from a confused Navas, and De Gea maturely getting on with his job, despite going through one of the biggest transfer cock-ups in history. Or was Ed Woodward just being a massive troll? I guess we'll never know. 3. Ashley Cole to Chelsea. In 2006, Ashley Cole completed a move to Stamford Bridge, and it came after a full 18 months of secret talks and general controversy. Halfway through the 2004-05 season, reports emerged that the Arsenal left-back had been getting sweet talks at a London restaurant by Jose Mourinho, Chelsea chief executive Peter Kenyon, and super agent Pini Sahavi. A blatant case of tapping up, Cole, Mourinho and Chelsea were handed fines amounting to over £600,000, and the left-back's relationship with the Highbury faithful started to turn sour. He signed a one-year contract extension with the Gunners worth £70,000 a week. Pretty high wages in those days. But injuries meant Cole made just 11 league appearances the following season, while links to Chelsea continued, as well as rumours of a move to Real Madrid. The next summer, Cole launched a public tirade at the Arsenal board, accusing them of feeding him to the Sharks over the tapping up scandal, and it was clear his relationship with the club was beyond repair. Omitted from Arsenal's squad photo for the new season, Cole was evidently on his way out, but it took until deadline day for a deal to be thrashed out. Needless to say, by this time, everyone was just happy for the whole thing to be over. 2. Robert Lewandowski to Bayern Munich. The summer of 2013 was one of misery for Jurgen Klopp's Borussia Dortmund. Beaten in the Champions League final by German rivals Bayern Munich, they then lost prodigy Mario Götze to the Bavarians, and it also looked like their Polish assassin would be going the same way. With just 1 year left on his contract, Borussia seemingly needed to cash in on Robert Lewandowski, and the striker's agent even publicly said that there's no point in pretending that he will not move to Bayern. But Klopp was determined to stop the exodus, and despite Lever's insistence that he wanted to move, a sale was refused. The striker didn't take this too well, claiming that he felt cheated by the club's actions, and BVB responded by tripling his wages. The next summer, Lewandowski went to Munich for free, and the Bavarians strengthened their position as Germany's premier club. Borussia, meanwhile, lagged further behind their rivals and lost money on a world-class striker in his prime. 1. Kylian Mbappe to anyone. At number 1, we have the man of the moment. Unless you've been living under a rock for the past year, chances are you've noticed the performances of a young Frenchman called Kylian Mbappe. The teenage Monaco forward has been nothing short of a revelation, qualifying the Principality to the Champions League semi-finals and breaking records left, right and centre with a goal-scoring ability beyond his years. So obviously Mbappe has been linked with just about everyone in 2017. First, Real Madrid looked odds-on to add the Frenchman to an attack already overflowing with young talent. Then Arsene Wenger used the idea of a world record move in an attempt to win over disgruntled fans. Even more unbelievable were reports that Jurgen Klopp was in talks with the pacey attacker's representatives, and that Liverpool, a club famous for failing to entice big names, could land the transfer of the century. Other clubs to have been linked with Mbappe include Man United, Juventus and PSG, and by the time this saga ends, probably sometime in the distant future, there is no doubt that everyone will be utterly bored of it. In fact, we already are.
So we hope you enjoyed that, and if you want to check out more of our videos, then click here on screen. Don't forget to like and subscribe and get on our Snapchat and our Twitter.